Hello, everyone. Happy Success Story Saturday, June, what's today? 10th? June 10th, 2017. And today I'm talking about one of the all-time greatest entrepreneurs in American history, Frederick Pabst, which you might be familiar with the name Pabst of Pabst Beer, Pabst Brewery Company. I'm talking about that because my beautiful wife Michelle and I are going to the Milwaukee Brewers baseball game later today. That's my beautiful wife Michelle is from Milwaukee, so it's her hometown team, and we're going to enjoy going to the Brewers game here in Arizona. So might as well talk about one of the most successful brewers of all time, Frederick Pabst. And that also leads to my rhino of the day, which is not a Pabst beer, but it is a Hornsby's official draft cider with the Hornsby's rhino on it. And actually another rhino up here near the top and another one on the other side and so forth. And so I don't drink beer myself, but I enjoy having this in my collection. It does say serve ice cold, and since this sits on the shelf, it is definitely very far from ice cold. But we have the old rhino on the beer. So Frederick Pabst, I just highly recommend you go look him up, study, which I recommend you do for all the time. I love reading biographies of successful entrepreneurs. Frederick Pabst is one to check out. Just in a nutshell, tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll call it a day here on Success Story Saturday. Frederick Pabst, born in Germany, where almost all the big brewers of the day came from Germany to the U.S. In the mid-1850s, I believe there was factors like raising taxes in Germany and land shortages, and in the U.S. at that time, like, give me a break, there were low taxes and there was plenty of cheap land to be had. So it was come on over to the U.S. and still to this day, let's take a hint. Of course, the socialist, progressive, liberal, believers in big government want to control everybody, want to raise taxes and kill business. But for small business owners, we hope that the current administration here in America is going to lower taxes and set off a boom in business, especially for small business owners. Anyway, I digress. So Pabst came over, but he came over as a kid. And here's another lesson of the day. He started working crappy, low-wage jobs like I think a lot of us did. He worked as a busboy and a waiter for $5 a month. $5 a month. Now, I know it was way back then, but still, give me a break. So that goes to the lesson of this BS, again, of the socialist, progressive, liberal, leftist, anti-business people who always want to raise the minimum wage and government control what business owners have to pay people. How incredibly stupid, stifling, and destroying of the country that is, because, number one, you're pricing out young workers from the job market. How can they get a job if the minimum wage is so high that they're just not worth hiring? And second of all, you're sending a message to people that it's fully okay to hold a minimum wage job as a career, because you wouldn't need to raise the wages of something that is merely something that a young person does as an entry into the marketplace, as a stepping stone to moving up, which is what the minimum wage should be. But in this country, the socialist, leftist, progressive, liberal, Democrat, whatever you want to call them, all want to raise the minimum wage and therefore let people continue to work their whole life in a minimum wage job. Ridiculous, but I digress again. Then, when he was 12, he got a job as a cabin boy on a boat, and he fell in love with that. And when he was 21, he got his maritime pilot's license, and that was his career, was operating ships up and down the Mississippi River and the Great Lakes and all that. And only until, meanwhile, his father-in-law was the owner of a brewery in Milwaukee. He was also born. His name was Best. Philip Best, I think, maybe. Jacob Best? Philip Best. Philip Best. His father was Jacob Best, but Philip, the son with his brothers, was really the one running the company. And they had come over from Germany. And only when Pabst had one of his boats that, I guess the story was his boat, got in an accident, had some damages, needed repairs. He didn't have the money to fix it. And he was like, what the heck, I will join my father-in-law's beer brewing business. at which point he learned the business, and eventually, uh, he was 27 years old, I think, when he joined the beer business, and I don't know, about a decade later or something, he took over the company, and he took it from just another brewery to the number one brewery in the country. So that was done through his determination. He was always saying, I'm going to make this the biggest brewery in Milwaukee, which was the center of brewing for a lot of beer companies until recently. And he did some great innovative stuff and some great marketing stuff. So I highly urge you to go study Frederick Pabst, see what he did, because a lot of the things he did, even back then in the 1870s and 80s and 90s, when they went from just an average brewery to number one, can still be done today. So, for instance, a lot of it was grassroots or guerrilla type of marketing strategies. He flooded the local area with signs in windows, and he put, his ads on, cheap things were all over the place, like cigar boxes and matchbooks and things like that. He held a lot of local events, a lot of beer events, and get a tent and get a beer, or rent a hall and whatever, and have an event that were covered by the local press. So now he got a lot of local media attention, and he handed out millions of little, what he called souvenir booklets. So people would get these souvenir booklets, and of course that's a sales letter. It's telling the story, which is another thing that all business owners ought to do, telling the story of Pabst Brewery, getting people to love the brewery. What else did he do? The tours of the Pabst Brewery were famous until the thing closed. In fact, I found something online, and I'll read a quote from a paper from the day, if I can find it here. Where did I put it? It was the fact that everybody had to get a tour. Here it is. It says, everybody whose foot touched Milwaukee's ground had to tour the Pabst Brewery. As the saying goes, it was easier to excuse a person who did not get to see the Pope in Rome than a person who failed to visit the Pabst Brewery in Milwaukee. So that's another great grassroots guerrilla marketing thing to do. He turned his business into an entertainment enterprise. And so edutainment, educating people on how the beer is made and giving them the free sample and touring them, and everybody had to go there. And Hershey in Pennsylvania did the same thing, and I remember as a little kid touring local businesses, and still to this day. I mean, if you can turn your business into some kind of form of entertainment, give tours, give out souvenir booklets, do that kind of stuff. What else did he do? He created an entire market for bottled beer. At the time, everything was barrels of beer, and draft beer was being sold. And Pabst recognized, hey, it's cheaper to get bottled beer. We can ship it further. We can get into dry states with bottled beer. And they put a whole campaign together extolling the virtues of the higher quality of bottled beer over draft beer. At the time, everyone thought, well, draft beer, that's real beer. But he was like, no, see, bottled beer is going to have higher quality and more consistency and blah, 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 because it's bottled at the source, and that's just perfect way it leaves the place, and you can drink it, all this kind of stuff. Another thing he did, he went after a new market. Beer back in those days was for the lower class people that would go into the taverns and drink draft beer. And by the way, Pabst set up a lot of taverns all over Milwaukee. Another guerrilla marketing thing they did, which only served Pabst beer, of course. But he said, you know what, let's appeal to a little higher class of people, the working class, a little higher class. And so he emphasized the quality of the beer to try and get to a higher class of people. I know it's hard to imagine back then, but even a working class person would never be thought of drinking beer. But when the message was, this is a quality drink, it's something that is elevated beyond these low-class beer drinkers, it's something you should drink, Mr. Working class, kind of middle-class person, man, that opened the floodgates to a whole new market, which he pounced on. Another thing Pabst concentrated on was shipping. He was in Milwaukee, so he didn't have anywhere near as big a local market as, breweries in New York and Philadelphia and cities like that. So he had to ship like crazy. So he set up all kinds of shipping. He set up offices in like 40 different states, or 40 offices all over all the states, all over the country. Shipped beer not all over the country, all over the world. He did all kinds. He was constantly innovating, constantly doing effective advertising and marketing. Some of their ads and their slogans. Milwaukee's beer is famous, and back when he first took over, when he went into his father-in-law, Philip Best's business, their slogan was something like, best beer is the best. Now, of course, you got to be fortunate enough if that's your family name, and if not, name the business something like that. Too many people name their business. Another lesson, they'll name their business just, Joe's Plumbing or something. Why not name it Best Plumbing and then say, because we're the best? Or people that type into Google, I want the best plumber in town. Well, good. We're called the best plumber in whatever town you're in. We come up. So lots of great innovation strategies, lots of stuff you, dear viewer, small business owner, entrepreneur, can still do to this day. So that's it for Saturday Success Story. What the heck day is it? It's Success Story Saturday. Highly recommend you check out. Whoa, thanks. Oh yeah, as always at the end here. Oh, look at this. Rich is here. Phil, Scott, Lee, Bethany. Wow, Bethany, great to see you. So look at all these people here. Let's go to the comments. Phil Brakefield did a lot of work with Pabst. Love it. Pabst, of course, it's sold out to Stroh's or whatever, and they don't exist anymore, but I love it. Phil did a lot of work with Pabst. I think that means you did a lot of work in your business with the business Pabst, or does it mean you did a lot of 12-ounce curls working out with Pabst? And Rich says, you must visit the Lost Rhino Brewing Company in Virginia. I must, absolutely. Who knew? I gotta check that out. Thank you. And then I will have not only my Hornsby's Ale, or whatever this is called, draft cider, Rhino beer, I will get some Lost Rhino beer for the Lost Rhino Brewing Company. Thank you. I will put that on the to-do list, the bucket list, whatever you want to call it. I got to get to find out, first of all, where in Virginia it is, because a lot of Virginia is just like my most despised area of the country, anything near the cesspool of Washington, D.C., with all that dirty money that they steal from Americans under the guise of we know what's best for you. They just want to take all our money. So I don't really enjoy that area of Virginia, so that would make it even sweeter if among that disgusting cesspool, dirty, corrupt government part of Virginia, there would be something cool like a Lost Rhino brewery to go visit. So thank you, Rich, and thank you to everyone else on here. Again, I recommend go check out not only Frederick Pabst, but check out, in free time in the summer, you do some summer reading. Why not read some biographies of entrepreneurs? I love to do it. Always gives me inspiration. And I'll give you a suggestion. I always concentrate on not the part where, and then he expanded from a $10 billion business to a $20 billion business, because that's not where I'm at. It's not where my clients are at. I'm looking for the ideas. I'm looking for the pivot point from where it went from nothing to something. So that's where I concentrate in these biographies, and that's where I concentrate here. How Frederick Pabst went from a ship's captain, something he loved to do, to becoming the #1 brewer in the country. How did that happen? What did he do? And what decisions did he make in the beginning to take that from an average business to an extraordinary business? Because that's what I do for my clients, so that's what I'm always studying. Yourself, and you do that for your business. I hope that for every small business owner and entrepreneur. One more comment. Hey, Lee. My pleasure. Phil says we printed hundreds of thousands of table tents for Pabst. Right. Phil had or still does have a promotional items company, and so one of the things he printed, I just love it, hundreds of thousands of table tents, those little, triangular things you see when you go to a restaurant or a bar, and hundreds of thousands, that's a lot. So Pabst beer back in the day was doing a lot of great stuff. It's another great thing you can do in your business. You can have your business promoted in other businesses in your area by going in and saying, hey, could you put this table tent on your tables? And I will reciprocate and do the same in my business. I'll put copies of your newsletter into my waiting room, and let's get some copies of my newsletter up here by the checkout in your place, and can I put this sign in the window, and I'll promote you over here, and come on now, folks. Let's get into some innovation, some marketing, and some massive growth of businesses, because I don't care how crappy the economy has been for the last 8 years, and it still hasn't turned because, of course, this government, just like every other one, can't seem to get anything done. And so maybe tax reform won't happen, and we won't get rid of the disastrous, destructive, killing small business Obamacare crap. So you know what? We're going to do it anyway. So this is one way to do it. Study the successful entrepreneurs and don't just sit there and go like, well, that was 1872. It doesn't apply today. Oh, he got a lot of publicity in newspapers. Nobody reads newspapers today. Come on, folks. Stop thinking that way and start thinking, how can I use this today? How can I do this today? How can I take what worked then and make it work now? So why, instead of start with a clean slate and say, I wish I had some ideas to grow my business, why not go get some from successful entrepreneurs, which you can do here every Saturday, because I will be sharing another successful entrepreneur story every Success Story Saturday. And today, later on, I'll be heading over to, we'll be thinking of Frederick Pabst as we go to the game of the Milwaukee Brewers, partially named after Frederick Pabst. So we're going to have some fun today, but we're also got our thinking cap on about entrepreneurialism and business growth, and I hope you do too. And I'll be back tomorrow with Sunday Fun Day, just basically a day off, but I made a determination and pledge to you and to myself and to everybody that I'm going to record a video every single day. So I tend not to talk too much about business on a Sunday, but I will check in with Sunday Fun Day. So thanks for being here today, everyone, and I don't see anything else coming up. And I will be back here again tomorrow and next Saturday with another Success Story Saturday. And have one on me.